Alright, today we are solving inequalities, so we want to look at one-step and multi-step inequalities. This is a notation that you're going to see in the book. This is called set builder notation. It has squiggly brackets on either side. It starts with whatever variable you're using, so lots of times it'll be x or y or whatever the variable is that you want to use in that problem. This straight up and down line means such that. And then this is just the inequality that goes with the problem. So this is saying all values of y such that y is less than 9. So when we're solving these, it says solve each inequality and graph your solution. So they're just like equations. We're going to work on them the same way. So I always like to draw this line down the middle. So you're going to gather your variables on one side. So if I do this, and my symbol is staying the same there, my inequality symbol, and then I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Okay, so what this is saying actually -5 is greater than y. So when we're looking at inequalities, we usually always want to have the variable on the left. So I'm going to take the whole thing and flip the entire thing around so that it looks like this, which is now saying y is less than -5. So on my graph, I'm going to label -5. If you want to put more of them, you can. Doesn't matter. On the line, this is going to be an open circle because this means it's not including the -5 when it doesn't have the equal sign underneath of it. And then if it's values that are less than -5, I'm shading to the smaller numbers, which would be this way, further into the negatives. Okay, so next one. So here we have a fraction, so we got to pay attention to that. We have the equal to sign underneath here, so that's going to affect it when we graph our answer. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this fraction. So since this stuff is being divided by 2, opposite of divide by 2 is multiply by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, and that's going to get rid of my fraction there. So now I have -2x. Okay, now I want to gather my x's together, so I'm going to subtract x here. And then at this point, I'm going to have to divide by -3. Now, if you remember this from Algebra 1 or whatnot, oops, sorry. Whenever you divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. So since I divided by a negative here, my inequality is going to flip the other way. A negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive, but 7's not divisible by 3, so we're just going to leave that as 7/3, which is really like 6 1/3. So that we know where to graph it on our number line. So on my number line here, I'm going to say, let's say that this is 6 and this is 7. You can really put them wherever you want. 6 1/3 would be, sorry, this should not be 6 1/3. Go back and erase that. Who caught that? 3 goes into 7 2 times with 1/3 left over. I don't know where I'm getting that 6 from. So it should be 2 1/3. So let's go back here now and change this to a 2 and a 3. So 2 1/3 is going to be about right here because that would be 2 1/2 with the way that I have it labeled. Now since this has the equal sign underneath of it, that's going to be a solid filled in circle, which means it's including that point. And then again I have x is less than these values, so that means it's going to be shaded to the left. If it was greater than, it would be shaded to the right, towards bigger numbers. Okay, so the next one says Javier has at most $15 to spend. He buys a bag of pretzels and a bottle of juice at the store for $1.59. If gas is $2.89 per gallon, how many gallons of gas can he get to the nearest tenth of a gallon? So we need to start with what he has spent so far. So he spent $1.59. And he's going to buy gas. So gas is $2.89 per gallon. So let's define our variable let's say G represents number of gallons of gas. So when I say define a variable, that's saying what your variable is and what it's going to represent. So I have $1.59 for my pretzels and juice, and then it's $2.89 per gallon of gas, and he has $15 that he can spend. So this stuff, this is the stuff that we're spending, that's what this represents, has to be less than or equal to 15. And now I'm going to solve this one. So we're going to subtract 159 from both sides to start. So if I do 15 minus 159, that gives me 1341. And then divide. Divided by 289. So to the nearest, what did it say, tenth of a gallon? So this gives me, if you can see on my calculator here, 4.64. So to the nearest tenth, I'm going to call that 4.6. So that means he cannot get any more no more than 4.6 gallons of gas. Alright, so you've got 2 to do. Solve and graph. Remember the rule of if you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. And for your joke of the day, who helps little pumpkins cross the road on the way to school? It's a crossing gourd. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful day and make sure that you're nice to someone today.